What's up, Taiwan? I'm Staś Butler with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Chinese President Xi Jinping says Taiwan is the biggest issue in his country's fraught relationship with the United States. Xi was speaking with his American counterpart Joe Biden during a high-stakes meeting in California. Joyce Zheng reports from San Francisco.
After much anticipation, U.S. President Joe Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping's rare in-person meeting has ended, with Xi warning his American counterpart that the biggest, most dangerous issue in their relationship is Taiwan. The two met for 4 hours in a secluded Northern California estate on the sidelines of the APEC summit, happening this week in San Francisco. The clearest win from that is the agreement to resume military-to-military communications, which Beijing ceased after then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan last summer. Taiwan has long been a contentious topic for the two superpowers, as Beijing claims the self-ruled nation as its own and previously threatening to take it by force. Biden, though, has said that Washington maintains the One China policy, which recognizes China's government over Taiwan's. But the thing is, Washington does keep robust unofficial ties with Taipei, spanning from weapon sales to sharing similar democratic values. And now the question is whether Xi's warning will cause Biden to water down these ties. And this comes at a pivotal time for Taiwan as it prepares to head to the polls in less than 2 months to pick its next president, an electoral process that Biden has asked Xi to respect. Justin Wu and Joyce Zheng in San Francisco for TaiwanPlus.
Now, as you heard in that report, the US and China have agreed to reopen high-level military communication. But what exactly does that mean? To find out, our reporter Jaime Ocon spoke to Matthew Sussex, a defense analyst at the Griffith Asia Institute.
So the US and China have agreed to reopen high-level military communication channels. But what does that mean and what changes going forward?
Basically, it restarts or turns the clock back to the freeze that was put in place by the Chinese in the aftermath of Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan last year, which effectively shut down all communication comprehensively between the US military and the PLA. So, I mean, it looks like from what we're seeing about some of the things that have been restarted very quietly in the background is that there'll be the ability of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs to talk to his opposite number in the PLA, that there'll be some discussion about China's nuclear stockpile and a degree of transparency, and some sort of crisis reduction mechanisms like potentially a hotline. It seemed that she was open to that, there should be some kind of system whereby Biden and Xi could call one another to diffuse tensions. Particularly, of course, Biden identified Taiwan as the single most likely trigger for conflict.
Chinese President Xi Jinping said that he told Biden that Taiwan was the biggest and most dangerous issue, and even laid out conditions for when China could use force against Taiwan. And one of the conditions was that the US was continuing to sell Taiwan arms. What does this say in the sense of China's giving more concrete, more direct rhetoric? What does it say about the US-China relationship?
Well, I mean, I think that there is a desire on both sides. I'm not quite sure how robust that is on the Chinese side, but it certainly seems fairly sincere on the American side to, if not reset the relationship, then at least put it to some kind of peaceful coexistence while acknowledging that competition is something that's going to be part and parcel of the relationship between the two, and that's increasingly looking path dependent. I think the Chinese saying that the US continuing to sell arms to Taiwan is a condition by which it might use force is nothing really particularly new, and nothing particularly surprising, and probably best ignored, because it's hardly something that I think Beijing would want to go to war with Taiwan over.
Looking at APEC as a whole, specifically this US-China meeting, did this meeting achieve anything, and where do we stand going forward?
Oh, look, I think it had fairly low expectations and marginally exceeded them, particularly with the notion of a hotline. Also with China, of course, agreeing not to crack down on precursor chemicals for fentanyl that are then sold on the black market to the United States. That's nothing new as well. Xi Jinping agreed to that with Donald Trump in 2019, and promptly nothing happened. But it does signal, I think, a willingness to at least ratchet down the tensions, and it's certainly not détente, but it might be that sort of form of peaceful coexistence. But it doesn't mean that the two won't continue to compete.
That was Matthew Sussex, a defence analyst at the Griffith Asia Institute, speaking with Jaime Ocon. Taiwan's Vice President Lai Ching-te wants people to stop speculating on who will be his running mate in his bid for the presidency. Since he announced his run, many have speculated that Lai will choose Taiwan's US representative Hsiao Bi-khim as his vice president. Hsiao has served as Taiwan's top diplomat in Washington since 2020. She also spent nearly a decade as a lawmaker for Lai's ruling Democratic Progressive Party. China, which claims Taiwan as its own, has called Lai and Hsiao a team of separatists. Lai's campaign has responded, saying China is interfering in Taiwan's election.
国台办今天的发言根本是以恐吓为手段，试图影响台湾选举，但对两岸和平稳定、区域繁荣发展一点帮助都没有。
Taiwan's government wants to make it easier for people needing organ transplants to find a donor. Right now, the law says people can only receive organs from relatives or, in some cases, spouses. But as John Van Trieste reports, that might be about to change.
Thousands of people in Taiwan need organ transplants, but donors are relatively few. During the COVID-19 pandemic, people stayed away from hospitals, and donations slowed to a trickle of just a few hundred a year. The result is a big backlog. Kidneys are needed most, but people are waiting for a whole range of organs, from livers to hearts to intestines. Even when organs are available, getting one can be hard. Taiwan's laws only allow donations from blood relatives. Spouses can donate too, but under strict conditions. They must be married for 2 years or have a child. The reason for all this is a deep concern that people may pay for an organ, or that a black market for organ trafficking could grow. Donations by living, unrelated people are allowed in countries such as the US and UK, but some doctors in Taiwan say that even when a transplant looks to be above board, they can't help but be suspicious.
即便是透过了访谈，或是透过了精神评估、心理的评估，你都没有办法去避免掉任何的对价关系。
那可能 under table 在牌面下可能会有一些考量的，只要真的掉入说所谓的用买卖哈，我常常就想说，有钱人的朋友会比较多一点哈，在各个医院里面的伦理委员会一定要妥善的把关。
And that sense of a need for caution goes all the way to the top.
当然要非常小心，非常谨慎去做评估。那这个也需要透过修法。
But for the thousands still on the waiting list, how fast this deliberation goes may be a matter of life or death. Scott Huang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Now, Taiwan police have made the biggest amphetamine bust in the country's history. The drugs were seized from a truck in the southern port city of Kaohsiung.
以补给的名义，将4个大的太空包，夹下货轮。那里面呢，外观则以垃圾当作菜底来进行掩护，实则上里面是大量的毒品，史上最大的一个安非他命走私的毒品案件。
Police say they found over a ton of amphetamines and over 100 kilograms of ketamine, with a combined street value of over $75 million. They believe the drugs were brought into the country from Vietnam. 4 suspects were arrested. Police say they arrested the leader of the smuggling ring back in August. A local baseball foundation is holding an annual youth competition in memory of one of Taiwan's most prolific players. But as Leslie Liao reports, the tournament faces challenges as it goes into its 11th year.
Xu Senming was one of Taiwan's most decorated baseball players. He reached milestones as both a player and a coach. Unfortunately, Xu suddenly died from a heart attack 10 years ago. A foundation to develop baseball in Taiwan was established in his memory. One of Xu's proteges, Atima Saw, recalls Xu's love of the game.
徐老师这边他是一直在做一个传承跟在地文化的结合来去办，然后当初的老师也是因为看到一些辍学的小孩子或者是在网咖的小孩子才有这一种想法。
The foundation has held an annual youth baseball tournament for the past decade, but the competition has struggled. Last year, the foundation didn't know if the tournament would return this year. With outside help, though, the competition has been confirmed for the end of November. Xu's wife and foundation head, Xie Rongyao, says that Taiwan is slowly losing its veteran baseball talent, and continuing the competition will be challenging without more help.
一个义务教练，他就跟我通完电话，当天就走。对，所以我不敢讲，因为我也65岁了，所以我不知道。
The Xu Senming Cup ensures that baseball will continue to thrive as Taiwan's national sport for years to come. Though the competition's future is uncertain, the legacy it leaves resonates with baseball lovers across the country. Alex Chen and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's only remaining troupe performing a traditional type of Chinese opera has announced its new play for next year, aiming to make the art form more relatable to modern audiences. Yujing Huang reports on efforts to keep Yu opera alive.
A classic romantic story passed down for more than 1,000 years. The tale of Li Wa depicts a courtesan's love with a wealthy young man. The original plot goes like this. The pair meet, fall in love, conquer difficulties, and live happily ever after. But Taiwanese playwright Liu Huifen thought this simple story wouldn't speak to modern audiences. She spent 3 years writing a new adaptation for the Taiwan Bounce Opera Company, Taiwan's only group performing Yu opera, which hails from China's Henan province. This new version will be presented to audiences next year, in time for the troupe's 70th anniversary.
我是一个现代人，我看那个传统的本子，我基本上就会有这些疑问问号。那我把这些问号呢，用我现在的新的诠释方法，那我觉得观众应该可以了解这个我新的一种观念跟手法。那特别是在价值观。
The opera troupe was founded after the Chinese Civil War, and later moved to Taiwan to give mainlander refugees from Henan a sense of home. That's after Chiang Kai-shek's nationalist government brought over 600,000 soldiers to Taiwan, paving the way for many Chinese arts groups to establish themselves here. But as later generations have steadily lost their Chinese identity, Yu opera has struggled to find a new audience.
人家怎么去认同你这一个豫剧是里面是台湾土生土长的，还是移植过来了？因为那个历史背景大概已经不见了。
But enthusiasts hope that Taiwanese audiences can now see this traditional performing art as part of the country's own culture, and help preserve it.
好的戏没有观众来看的话，只能摆在博物馆里头了。所以希望，尤其是年轻的观众朋友们，不要放弃我们台湾自己的东西。
Just like the tale of Li Wa, there were many twists and turns in the 70 years of Yu opera's development in Taiwan. And for those who dedicated their lives to this art, they hope the future holds brighter days ahead. Klein Wang and Yujing Huang for TaiwanPlus.
An unusual bird, the Pūteketeke, has been crowned New Zealand's Bird of the Century, winning by a landslide. The bird, known for its puking, grunting, and unique mating ritual, was championed by American-British comedian John Oliver. On his weekly talk show, he urged people around the world to vote and also placed billboards in several cities. The competition, raising awareness of New Zealand's native birds, received a record number of votes. The Pūteketeke won with 290,000 votes, while the country's national bird, the kiwi, came in second with around 12,000. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. I'm Stash Butler. Take care and see you next time.